Hi, this is Ms. White, and today we're going to talk about author's purpose. The learning target for today I will identify the author's purpose so that I can critically evaluate a text. I'll know I've got it when I can identify the author's purpose and evaluate the text with that purpose in mind. So basically, in other words, you're going to be able to say why the author wrote the text. Like, what were they trying to do? And then you're going to be like, did they do a good job with that purpose? Okay, so our first vocab word is persuade. Persuade means to convince somebody to do something by giving them good reasons for doing it. Presidential campaign candidates use campaign promises to persuade voters to vote for them. And it looks like in this election, Joe Biden was a bit more persuasive because he persuaded more voters to vote for him than Donald Trump did. Inform. This is to tell somebody about something, especially in an official way. So, like, your friend wouldn't inform you that they got a dog. We just wouldn't say that. It would be like tell. But we could say the school district informed teachers that return to school was scheduled for this date. Like, it's kind of more, it's a little more academic, more fancy. News reporters inform readers about events that happen in the world. For example, the Washington Post reporter Carolyn Y. Johnson informed readers that there is a vaccine that against coronavirus that is almost 95% effective, so that is good news. Entertain. This is most people's favorite because it's about interesting and amusing somebody in order to please them. Comedians entertain people by making them laugh. You can be entertained by something that you read and it's actually sad, but we'll get into that. Usually if you're saying you're entertaining me, it's like it means in a good way, like you're laughing, you're smiling. Okay, an easy way to remember author's purpose is to think pie, and you can think of, oh, that's Miss White and her husband getting married because they didn't have a wedding cake, they had a wedding pie, because pie is the best. It's like way better than cake. The end. Okay, so we say pie because it's persuade, inform, and entertain. I'm going to give you some brief what the different types are, and we'll get some examples. Okay, authors persuade through persuasive texts. This is always nonfiction. It can be fact and opinion. So if an author's doing a good job with persuasion, it's not going to be all opinion. They'll use facts. But if it's just facts with no opinion, it's not going to be persuade. It tries to appeal to people's reason or emotion. Like, it tries to convince you using facts, or maybe gets you to feel some way. And it tries to convince or influence you to buy something, to do something, to stop doing something. Examples are ads, speeches, reviews, and opinion articles. Okay, let's look at an example, a persuasive example. So you can see on the left there is this advertisement for it's trying to persuade you not to vape. So on the right hand side you can see what I've done, and this is like what you'll do for the mission. So you'll have to say what the purpose is, and I'll show you how I did this. What's the author's purpose? It's persuade. How do you know? So this is what you would write if you had this one. The ad tries to convince readers not to vape by appealing to reason. Nicotine can make you want more and more. See down here where it says, vaping can deliver nicotine to your brain, reprogramming you to crave more and more. And emotion. Because people don't want to get hacked. Don't get hacked by vaping. How well does the author meet their purpose? So this is when you're kind of rating it. Do you think they did a good job of persuading? This is on a scale of 1 to 5, and why? I would give this a 3 because I think this ad is a little silly. The boys Portmouth made me laugh, but I think the purpose is probably to scare you, probably not to make you laugh. I never thought about addiction as getting hacked, so maybe it would stick in the reader's mind and it might work. So I'm not giving it a 1, but I don't really think it's a 5 either. Okay, now we're going on to the I in PIE, so inform. Authors inform through informational expository texts. So if you see a text that is nonfiction, has facts, explains, describes, or analyzes something, oops, then you know that it is probably the author's purpose is to inform. This is like just nonfiction, history, science, travel, sports, can be biography, can be news. How-to things like cookbooks and manuals are also inform or informational. Here's an example. So on the left you see this recipe for frozen banana yogurt bites. I know the author's purpose is inform. How did I know? Well, the author explains how to make frozen banana yogurt bites in this recipe. How well does the author meet their purpose from 1 to 5 and why? Okay, so this is me saying like, did they do a good job of informing the reader of how to do this? I think it's a 4. The steps seem pretty clear, but I prefer when recipes have numbered steps like 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's easier to follow. It also might be nice to have a short explanation at the top, explaining a bit more about the recipe. Like, this is a great snack for kids. It only takes like a few hours. It's a healthy treat, like something, anything to kind of like make me know why I should make this. Oops. Gosh. Alright, last one, the E in PIE. Authors can entertain through narrative texts, and maybe you've learned this in language arts. Narrative text can be fiction or nonfiction, so authors can entertain you in nonfiction. It's not just fiction. But maybe when you're younger you learned that entertain was just fiction. Well, that's not totally true. It's anytime the author tells a story, maybe they have characters, setting, mood, theme. So on the right you can see that books like novels or short stories are narrative fiction. Narrative nonfiction could be biography, memoir, when someone writes about themselves, their own life, or personal essay, which is kind of similar. So if you are writing nonfiction in an entertaining way, it's still, your purpose is to entertain. I mean, you might want to inform people also. You can have more than one. Alright, here is my narrative example. Dylan had everything. He had a family that loved him, a beautiful girlfriend, and outstanding grades in school. He was a good kid, well liked by his teachers and classmates. There was one boy who hated Dylan though. His name was Ike. No one knows why he loathed Dylan with such a passion. Dylan had never wronged him in any way. Yet Ike seemed to believe that his one and only goal was to make Dylan's life a living hell. For the most part, Ike's incessant hazing was but a minor annoyance to Dylan. But one day, Ike went too far. Okay, so I know the author's purpose is to entertain because the text tells a story. And I would give this a 5 because, yeah, it's hard to evaluate the beginning of a story, but I love this last line. One day Ike went too far. It makes me want to read more. Just think of PIE when you're thinking author's purpose. Persuade, inform, or entertain. Maybe a combination, but every text has one of those purposes. Thank you for watching.